Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com.
Should new wicks be used each night of the menorah lighting, or can one simply reuse the old wicks of the previous night? So before we begin discussing the rulings in the Poskim regarding this question, let us first analyze why it is even a question and why it is not left simply to one's prerogative of whether to use new wicks or reuse the old wicks. What difference does it actually make? So number one, perhaps using old wicks is a belittlement to the mitzvah. It's used, second-hand, dirty, blackened, ashened, and therefore perhaps should not be used. Likewise, perhaps in the spirit of the fact that every night a new miracle occurred, a new wick should also be used, just like a new oil is used. As well as, let's not forget that in temple times the menorah lighting had new wicks used daily. And since the lighting of the menorah is in memory and commemoration of the temple menorah, therefore perhaps we should specifically use new wicks each night. On the other hand, one can argue that there's actually a benefit in reusing the old wicks, as they are much easier to ignite than our new ones. And likewise, it is proper to do a second mitzvah with an item that was already used for one mitzvah. So we have pros and cons to each side of the argument of whether new wicks or old wicks are to be used. Practically, what do the Poskim say? So it's recorded in the Shulchanaruch in chapter 673, halacha 4 in the Mechaber, that there is no need to switch the wicks each night, and you can reuse them until there is nothing left to light. The Achreidim record that the reason for this is because although there is a side to argue that it's belittling to the mitzvah to reuse an old wick, on the other hand, it is actually easier to ignite, as we stated, and therefore there is an advantage and is allowed to be done. Nonetheless, we do find in the Rishonim, in the Orchos Chaim, the Kolbei, the Budaram, Meiri, Leket Yesher, and others, that they were accustomed to change the wicks each night, and hence never reuse the old ones, in order to emphasize the renewal of the miracle on each day, and the fact that this is how it was done in temple times, as we stated. So bottom line is that whatever you choose to do has upon whom to rely. You can choose to reuse the old ones for the sake of having an easier lit wick, or choose to use new ones each night for the sake of commemorating the temple menorah lighting. Now, what is the Chabad custom in this matter? So while in Sefer Menhagim it states that the custom of the Frierdiker Rebbe was not verified as to whether he used the same wicks or used new wicks each night, practically, in later years it did become verified that indeed the Rebbe Rayatz was to reuse the same wicks on the next nights. Obviously this only applies if there's still what to light on the wick. It's still usable, otherwise certainly one is to use a new wick. Now some poskim interestingly argue that if you choose to follow this custom of reusing the same wicks each night, then you have to place the used wick in the newest candle that's lit first, and not do what most people do and put the new wick in that extra candle that's being lit first for this night. The reason is because since the wick of last night was used for the main mitzvah, which is the first candle, you're now allowed to descend it and demote it tonight by using it only for the second mitzvah, the second candle. And therefore that should always remain the first candle that is lit. Nonetheless, practically most poskim negate this and conclude that the custom is not to be particular in this matter, and hence even someone who decides to reuse the same wicks each night does not need to specifically use the previous night's wick for the lighting of the newest additional candle. And you can rather use a new wick for that purpose. Either way, as we've already explained, whatever you decide to do, whether to use new wicks or to reuse the old ones, you have upon whom to rely in the Poskim.
Thank you for listening to Shulchanaruchharav.com. Our free services of making Torah knowledge available to the public depends on donors like you. Please help us continue our work through making even a small contribution at Shulchanaruchharav.com under the Daily Halacha Dedication section or in the subscription page. Also, check out our online courses and many sefarim available for purchase that will both enhance your Torah knowledge and help support our work.